I just keep on talking, and then Andy can't get in and say, "No, don't start," like he does, and I just keep on talking. This is Literary Roadhouse, one short story once a week. My name's Gerald.
I'm Andy,
And Diamond Ace.
See, that was different, wasn't
but are we live?
it? Well, there's a little thing in the screen that says live, and it's 23
Oh, I never
seconds.
look at that. I wait for someone to tell me.
Ah, okay. Well, we are. So today, or this week, and today, we've been reading a story called Bottle Girl by A.J. Bermudez. If you've not read the story yet, pause the podcast, go and read it, and come back. We're following a 21-year-old bottle girl working in a high-end club where punters can lay down 10 grand for some crystal and attention from the bottle girls. She's allergic to bee stings and got stung badly when she was a kid. After spending the night with one of the punters, he tells her about a photographer, so she has a photo shoot where the photographer seems fixated on a scar from a bee sting. And I got nothing else. I think there's more, but I got nothing else. I'm showing my ignorance here, but hey, there you go. That's why people come here. Ignorant.
Okay. Andy, what did you think of the story overall?
I thought this was one of the better versions of the annoying MFA story that I don't like that we've read recently. I thought this was a
Okay.
pretty good one. I don't like
Okay.
it.
You don't like it, but it's pretty good.
It's pretty good of that category.
But do you like it? Forget the category.
No.
Okay.
Objectively, no, I don't like it. But it's better than a lot of the other things I also don't like.
Why is it better and why don't you like it?
Felt like it was doing something and then the ending just happened. I don't like that. It was in the middle and beginning. It was like, oh, maybe this story's actually gonna like do something or say something, and instead it just sort of like played with some themes and then put them down. It's like, oh, look, here's some themes. I'm gonna mess with them a little bit, and now story over.
Okay. I think I agree with the invest with some themes and then put them down because I have that same feeling of okay, here's a theme and we just acknowledge that this exists in the world. Great. Again,
Right. That.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I found it quite interesting. I think the description of the characters, the main characters, the bottle girls, and the main character herself, was interesting, and that sort of focus on the end game for them, and this is just a means to an end. So that was interesting, and there's lots of lovely writing. I really liked
Really
some
good
great
writing.
bits. But yeah, I because I thought I was missing something because the person that recommended this in electric literature,
Yeah, I
says an
went back
awful
and read
lot.
that.
Says an awful lot about it that I just thought, what? I don't.
Well, specifically what the recommendation was like, oh, and it deals with, objectification and all this stuff. I was like, yeah, it did that. I like that
Yeah.
part. And it's like, oh, and then this crusher of an ending. I was like, no, it was a piffle of an ending. It was a dumb ending that didn't carry on any of its themes and didn't do anything with the themes. Just sort of like was like, here they are. These were themes.
Unless the crusher thing, right? So unless the crusher is supposed to be, here's Amy, who one of the okay, I gotta like take a few steps back. Because one of the things about the story, that my strongest critique is the voice was confusing to me. I'm like, is this Amy talking? Because it's a close third point of view on Amy, but it's not talking the way you would expect even a very intelligent 21-year-old bottle girl to speak. There are at times observations or thoughts happening that you cannot imagine happening in that moment as she is doing the service. or somebody who needs to live with this. It kind of makes it hard for you to root for her in some ways. Not that you dislike her, just Amy is a bit blah. Like there's nothing about Amy that makes you feel connected to her in any way or root for her or want anything for her, because she also doesn't really want anything for herself. In the section where it's like what all of the girls want to do, like this is a means to an end, she doesn't really have a realistic means to an end at all. She hasn't figured that out. She likes some castles in Spain. She's not actually buying a castle in Spain, right? So she's doing this whimsical thing where she's having her mail forwarded there, and that's it. So it's hard to get a beat on who Amy is or what she wants. So then when it ends, so if what the big oomph is supposed to be, it's she's going to continue to just make money through sort of this like knowing transactional objectification, trading beauty and youth for reputation, status, money. If that's the thing she's doing, that's how it ends, right? This guy is just thinking he's deep because he's going to make it about the scar. But at the end of the day, it's the same shit. She's a pretty young person. He's a photographer. You're trading beauty for money in this case. So if the oof is supposed to be, this is her life and she doesn't have an off ramp, I don't know if you care about her enough to care. Like you're like, I keep making that bag, Amy. I don't know. Like you seem fine with this. So I don't know that I need to root for you because you don't get a sense of how she feels about any of this, really.
And is she condoning this lifestyle? Is she because there's no proper ending, there's no dream, and we're working to, we're doing like a lot of sex workers do. They say they're doing this because it puts food on the table for the kids, or eventually going to go to college and then beyond, or something. There's usually some sort of aim. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's just that this is her life. This is what she does. But it's a bit. It's a bit sort of. It's not a good outlook for her, really. As you say, if you're supposed to care for her and or sort of have a sort of relationship with the main character, then you've got to sort of feel that she's on some sort of journey, that she's there's no real journey here. It's just a slice of life, but you would like to feel that there's an end game of some sort.
Mm-hmm. You do get a little bit of a sense of how she feels about it. The one thing she likes is that she can turn it off, right? She says that line about how like the athletes are under this gaze all the time and they're owned and they deserve every penny of the millions that they make. But again, I don't think a lot of us would necessarily agree with that, but she does, because in her mind, this is a particular kind of labor, and to do it 24/7 would be to her just like way too much. The what they wear is described as a costume. You take it off and it's just draped to go get dry cleaned and worn again later. So she likes that she can just slip in and out of it. So she's very knowing about how she does this, but so are the other girls, right? All the other girls are just like when the guys like lick the champagne off Mel's chest, the girls look at each other like whatever, and they do it. So there's this knowing thing that they all have. She likes that she can slip out of it. She likes making the doctor feel like he's not rich enough to feel like he can lord anything over her, right? Like there's just sort of a strangeness where it's like she clearly has some boundaries in her head, and that's fine. Sometimes it seems like she's a little judgmental of like when one of the other girls is constantly reading up like who got signed by what team and who made what money, and she's like, she doesn't care about that as much, but she does because she needs to put that doctor down a bit. She needs to let him know he's not actually rich. So it's just like you don't get a strong sense of who Amy is, and I think that's ultimately the story's downfall. And then the voice doesn't convincingly sound like who this character could possibly be, and that's my biggest critique. Is like the voice sound it's too intrusive of the author. I'm just hearing the author too much, and I don't hear Amy or a believable Amy.
Yeah, and they make such a big thing about the bees, which sort of, I don't know what that has to do with anything particularly. When she captures the bee and puts it in the Coke bottle, and right at the end it says it died in a haze of ecstasy, she imagines, buzzed to oblivion, unaware of its own fate until the final instant. So there could be a parallel with her own life there. But is she? You would think, if the character and the author is making that comparison, then you would hope that the main character would have some way of, or maybe it's just a sort of dreary, this is what happens and this is what's going to happen to her, and deal with it sort of thing.
Mhm.
I don't know.
But Amy can't die a bottle girl, right? There's that other line about how like youth is something that they see on her and they are attracted to it and they need to go. I think the word might even be bottled up, or I might be making that up. I'd have to look it up, but they want to touch it basically before it goes away. She will age out of this job, so she can't die of age. Maybe
she won't die
of
age.
Yeah, she'll have to die young then.
But
and
that's not made explicit. I don't know.
Yeah, the bee she caught didn't die of age. It died because it was in an environment where it was hyped up to oblivion.
Yeah, all the buzzing stuff. But you don't get the sense she's going to die from this. She seems too knowing. That's the problem with the voice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it
doesn't
sort of seem like she's on a one-way train to Deadsville.
She's too smart. It feels like you could get out of this if you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty easily. And she's got savings.
Yeah.
And the fact that she takes the costume off and leaves that life behind and goes to a different life, which sounds fairly similar, Emilio's. But
unless the reason she can't get out is because there's this other little tiny thing, which is like that her mom is pretty vain, and you get this idea that her mom overemphasizes a woman's looks as a woman's value, and was Amy somehow over influenced by that? Okay, but that doesn't come across in her voice either. You know? Yeah, because her mom's biggest concern is scarring.
Yes. Yeah.
So her mother, I think the voice kind of undermines everything, which is my biggest critique.
Yeah. So the mother, we have a little bit of detail about the mother treating her bites and what she uses to treat the bites with and all this sort of stuff. So is it as if her mother doesn't want her to be scarred by the incident and by the bites? I don't know. Don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that sums up the story the best. Is you can talk about it a little and then you sort of sigh and say, I don't know, and then you sit here.
I think and like I've been saying, the Deneau comes from, you start to see that theme and you're like, okay, so is she trapped? She doesn't feel trapped. Is it because she overvalues her looks and thinks she has no other values because of her mother's influence? Doesn't feel like that's true either.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame. There's some lovely bits of writing there and lovely little sort of observations and it didn't feel like an MFA story to me, because the point isn't clear. No, I think normally with MFA stories we find that there's the themes or the point of the story is quite heavily sort of ladled on. It's okay. This story is about this, and then it ends in nothing. Or so, but it just seems to be that it's almost just out of reach. It just there's a reason why the bee thing and what she's doing and her future and this. But
yeah, I mean, I think comparing her to the bee is correct. There's a bunch of other clues. The club is described as buzzing. Everything is buzzing, and all of the worker bees are women. Right.
Yep.
So the bees, there's a lot of things where it's like bees, this is Amy, but you just don't feel like it's true because the voice is so smart. You're like, you could get out of this. I don't think you believe any of this. You're too knowing and you've made money. So I don't know why you're stuck. You know?
Yep.
Actually, the beginning, starting with all the buzzing, the first time I read this, I was a little too sleepy, and it took me way too long to realize what was going on. But then, when I was more awake, it's fine.
So can I just say, electric literature, two things. One, bad formatting. That first sentence took me a long time to read because it was like, Amai is 21st birthday. Come on.
Amai. Took you a while to figure out Amy.
Yep. And then also, like, why do they do this thing? Right? I know I'm not critiquing the story anymore. Why do they do this thing with the title where they have something that's not like the published title of the short story as their title on their website? It's dumb. Don't do that. Electric literature.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, electric literature.
Well, they
We
normally
have a
do.
critique about your formatting and your titling.
Yeah, stop that.
Yeah.
I remember because I always copy it into a text file anyway, so I can't remember what it
That's smart.
looked like. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
good
yeah.
keeping this one short if you guys don't have anything else to say. Because I do feel kind of like,
But also, like, I liked it a lot more than a lot of stories I haven't liked.
Hmm.
You know what I
'Cause the
mean? Like,
writing's
it
very
was
strong.
really good writing. It was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
strong writing. And
it was, yeah.
if I feel like if the ending had like tied up some of these themes, it did work with themes really well in sort of a more subtle way than just slathering them on. You know what I mean? It was messing with stuff in a good way that made me interested,
Mhm.
and then it stopped.
There's, I really like, I was just going to
Yeah.
read a couple sentences I liked, which was, Amy's always preferred the athletes, sensing in their entrances and exits an aura of inspection, as though they dipped in and out of existence when watched and unwatched. They belong to the tightly assessing gazes, the guessings at strength and weight, the paper doll conjectures of how they'd look in various poses, in and out of clothes, graceful and drenched in magic. That whole section I really liked, but that again is a person who should just go write somewhere and make money that way. Like, she's too observant. She's so, you're not trapped. You could literally like write this thing on a blog and like it'd be fun.
Right.
Like these observations that you're having.
What's the point of the photographer? I know it sort of brings back the bee thing, and the whole
the
story is the
objectification.
scar.
Right.
And the
Yes.
objectification.
But like, right,
then
what
she
does it do with it? It brings it
But
back.
she goes willingly into it, doesn't she? She's, she could have
Yeah.
ignored the offer and just done nothing, but she goes into it. So I don't know.
That's how she makes money.
Yeah.
But she took 3 days off work for it, and she only needed 1.
Yes. It's almost as if there's something missing somewhere that ties everything together, and you go, aha, now I see what you do. But
Well, right. I had sort of thought maybe one of you would have seen what it was, and I'd say, I missed it.
yes. Yes.
But I don't know. If all three of
That's
us
not-
missed it, maybe it wasn't
That's
there.
normally my job. I normally go, so tell me what this is about.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to make us feel sad. I think, but I'm not sure, that she continues to just do this transaction of money for beauty because we're supposed to feel like she could do a lot more, but it's hard to feel bad for her because it's not clear where her ambitions are and it's not clear that she's stuck. So it's like,
Right. Because if she doesn't know what else she wants to do yet, and she still has beauty, and she doesn't mind transacting it,
yeah.
I don't know, man. There's worse jobs.
Yeah. Basically, like I'm like this. Yeah. And maybe it is just a slice of life. Like maybe we're not supposed to feel bad for her. She doesn't feel bad for herself.
Right. That's the part she doesn't. I don't
No.
know.
And like sometimes that's okay, right? Sometimes you have characters that don't feel bad for themselves, but the writing tips you off like, oh, they don't know they should. They don't know they should feel very bad for themselves, and all of us feel very bad. But that's not happening here because she's too knowing.
Yeah.
Actually a character that doesn't know to feel bad for themselves, but you know to feel bad for him. I keep going back to the Semplica Girl Diaries, and I keep thinking about this with George Saunders, because with this one, that's what it's missing. In the Semplica Girl Diaries, it's like a masterclass. And how do you have a character who is not knowing, is too dumb to fully understand the situation that he is in? And sometimes he knows, right? He gets sad when in the most base form of things, like he can't get this thing for his daughters. That sucks. But he can zoom out and see the bigger picture, but you as the reader can. And then you're like, oh, this hurts in a different way. Like, right. And that's what's really good about it. Because the character's voice sounds very much like the character, and Saunders is very skilled in letting you as the reader fill in the blanks around it. And there's no blanks here, really. I mean, there's blanks in the literary sense of like the B is the women, like that kind of stuff, but there's no blanks in terms of what the character knows or doesn't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I mean, there's a bit where she says Amy has read about this Hungarian countess who lured young women bathing in the blood and da 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 da. And you think, okay, that's interesting. And what? You sort of think that sometimes it seems that things are written into the story that have some relevance, but we're not being shown what the relevance is.
Mm.
Yeah.
See, I'd even forgotten about that, and that was a good bit, but then it didn't. Rax is like, oh, it's about, extracting youth and beauty.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, but also Amy knows about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Amy's aware of that.
And again, you could have a character who is aware of the transaction, and that's it, and that's where their awareness stops, and then they're not aware of the more predatory ways that things are happening.
Right.
They're not aware of the more like systemic issues with this, or they're not aware, right? But that's not what's happening here. She's very aware of everything from top to bottom. She can see it in other industries. She can see it with athletes.
Right. She recognizes these same patterns and extrapolates from them.
Right, exactly. So like you could see a character who's just like, I hate that the only way that I can make my life is by trading my beauty or sex or whatever for money. And that's it. That's as limited as their thinking or analysis goes. And then with the writing, you start filling in other blanks where you're like, oh, oh, you're trapped. But Amy's too smart to be trapped.
Yeah.
Although I guess there are situations in which like think about like cyclical or like extreme poverty where like you might know all the systemic reasons and everything and you still can't get out of it. But that's not the case here because she already made the money and so we know there's escape ramps for her. Like sometimes you can know the system and still not escape, but this isn't one of those cases. She's got doctor money without putting in the doctor schooling.
Well, podiatrist money.
Still had to go to school and do a residency.
I'm just saying, it's not neurosurgeon money.
And what's the joke about the Donner Party? I don't understand that.
They ate
cannibalism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which again goes to the theme, the consuming of bodies. It's all.
Get it. They ordered steak tartare. Get it?
Yeah.
Get it.
There's all these rules about when you can and can't consume blood. That's one of the lines, which was really good. But like, I'm imagining this bottle girl who's like doing all the stuff and then just like having these like thoughts about, oh, sometimes you can have blood, right? Like, there's just something about it that just didn't feel real. Like, you're 21-year-old. Like, all right, it just didn't feel real enough. Like, it was hard to see this person having all these little observations in this cool, detached way while like half naked and doing her job. I did like the note about Indica, whose real name is Gladys. Her tips went up, but she changed her name to Indica. That is very much in keeping with somebody who does this job would make that observation because it is important to their day-to-day. Like, yeah.
Also, what I like is specifically not just her tips went up. Her tips went up 20%. Like there was a 26% increase in tips, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like no,
but I believe they would calculate that. Indica would be like, "Whoa, wait a minute."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a focus on the transactional nature and earning the money through doing this. For a reason, and it seems that everyone else has got a reason except her.
Which again is why you don't. It's like it feels like you're doing this because it's an easy way to make money. I'm not gonna. All right, get your bag. Cool.
Yeah, because I mean, she falls in love with the 15th century fortress in Spain, and which is just a, it's not even a dream. It's just sort of an infatuation. If she had a dream of she'd seen a house in, another area of her town, and she dreamt of that house or a house like it, then you could see a focus for what she was doing and a reason for her doing it. But then that would be a bit too simplistic, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I just thought of this now, but I might be reaching. Like when you think about women in castles, normally there's also a bit of like ownership and objectification. Very rarely is it the woman who owns the castle. Usually it's like the kept, but I might just be reaching.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
famous queen recently.
There
that owned
was.
a castle.
There was, yeah.
Not anymore.
But she didn't start off as a bottle girl and then bought a castle.
Right.
Did she not? Okay.
No.
Fun fact about the royal family.
Yeah.
Fun fact, yes.
Fun fact.
You've got part of our royal family over there with you now. And
Listen,
we're
I know
not
this-
happy with it, I can tell you.
But you didn't want them over there either.
Yeah, you didn't
Apparently,
want them.
I know. It's
Listen.
quite hilarious seeing the right wing idiots. Just every single thing that they say or do is twisted and turned. Look at what they do. She's mocking the Queen with the curtsy. And you watch the actual footage. No, that wasn't
Just
it.
a curtsy. Yeah.
Yeah. Just saying it's difficult for her to understand a curtsy because she's never encountered one before. But look at what they're doing now.
Their Netflix series, Harry and Meghan, I know it has nothing to do with this story, but I just want to say real quick, it's working very well for them. But I read a blog article about it that was basically what Amy is doing in this story. Was the blog article, what it was saying was they were hounded by the tabloids in this invasive way. They were in many ways truly victimized by it, but also it's their lifeline. Now they're creating their own media. They can't, without the media, they can't really survive. That is their source of income now. So now they're like trapped in this thing where they have to create this content, but the only content they're okay with is so boring. Like, who cares? Like, it's the most boring content out there. So it's just, like, except my grandma loved it. She believes it is a true love story. But so there's a small audience for this Harry and Meghan documentary. Very small.
It is,
More
and it's only if he were not a prince in our royal family, there would be no story. It would just be.
Sure.
I don't know. We watch rich people do a lot of stuff.
But normally because they're being interesting in a trashy way. This is just like highly curated images of like their love life.
Yeah.
Like,
and I for what it's worth, I think they did the right thing. You've got the fact that his mother was hounded literally to death by paparazzi, and so the image of him and his brother being made to walk behind a hearse through London in front of the cameras and people, and he was 8 or 10 or something like that. It's crazy. So you can understand why he's scared that the same would happen to his wife and his children. So you can understand why he's done it, but without the furore of what he's doing, there'd be no publicity.
Yeah. Like they kind of need it. They are in a way trapped by this media cycle. Amy could write a blog post about it and make a lot of money.
Yeah, they're in control of it in a way. So they're directing. It's like they're forging a path with the first the Oprah thing and then the Netflix thing, and all this like leaving a trail of destruction behind them. People who go up in arms and ranting about stuff, and they're just happily trolling along, pocketing the money. Good luck to them.
Okay,
it's expensive in California.
Yeah,
it is.
You gotta get water.
Yeah.
Are we ready to rate the story?
Yeah, I guess. I haven't thought about this actually. Rating.
I'm coming in at a 3. I think the voice bothered me that much, and then I thought I was being grumpy, so I gave it to another friend who's like a big English person and like teaches English and stuff, and she was like, "Yeah, the voice is unconvincing," so made me feel like it's not just me being grumpy.
Yeah, I'll go 3 because I was going to give it more, but we've seen so many stories like this that have got good bits in it, and you think, "Ooh, nice! I like that bit." But then if it's not much of a story, it's not much of a story. So yeah, 3. Yeah.
I was going to give it a lower score, but then I thought of some of the stories I've given lower scores to, and like I really hated those. So I guess I will also give it a 3.
A 3 across the board.
Right, just like a
Which-
solid meh.
Which yes, which says more than the actual score to the fact that we gave it a whatever score.
Okay.
Sorry, AJ Bermudez.
There's a lot of talent there. Let's see next time.
Yeah, maybe.
We've read stories from the same author, loved one, hated the other, right? Like not everything is always
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not a knock on him. Okay. Andy, what are we reading next week?
Next week we're reading Law of Tongue by Naeem Kabir.
Okay. But before you go, drop a cool 10K in our Facebook discussion group, the Literary Roadhouse Readers. That's a cool 10,000 words of literary discussion, of course. We would love to be out with our literary enthusiasts. Help people stare at us with their ears by leaving a review on iTunes and supporting our podcast on patreon.com. Literary Roadhouse. Every bit helps. And as always, share this podcast with the nude woman covered in desserts in your life. Until next time, read a good story.
I don't have any of those.